The son of Hungarian immigrants, Emil Freireich grew up in the poorest ghettos in Chicago. His father died when he was only 2 years old, and his mother worked endless hours in a sweatshop to provide for her children. Despite this challenging environment, Emil Freireich was a prize-winning science student in high school. A teacher encouraged him to attend college at the University of Illinois, where he excelled in physics and chemistry. Returning to Chicago to study medicine, Dr. Freireich began his career at the National Cancer Institute in 1955, before moving to his present position at the MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston in 1965. Dr. Freireich theorized that cancer cells could mutate to become resistant to a single chemotherapeutic agent. He concluded that by using different drugs concurrently, it would be more difficult for tumor cells to mutate and develop resistance. His pioneering efforts were applied to the management of childhood leukemia and resulted in the first curative therapy for a systemic cancer in man. He also pioneered the first use of follow-up adjuvant chemotherapies. He devised the first continuous flow blood cell separator for the collection of leukocytes for replacement transfusion, and for the collection of peripheral blood stem cells for bone marrow transplantation. In addition, Dr. Freireich pioneered the application of molecular genetics to the evaluation of the effects of cancer therapy, including detection of minimal residual disease. Today, his clinical work stands as the foundation of modern chemotherapeutic treatment for cancer. The Castle Connolly 2009 National Physician of the Year Award for Lifetime Achievement, Dr. Emil J. Freireich.
Wow. Thank you very much. I love hearing all these young people. This is really a lifetime. I got my MD in 1949. So I've been a physician for 60 years. But I have to recognize the person you saw in the last picture, because my wife, Geraldine Freireich, and I celebrated our 56th anniversary 10 days ago. And this is kind of our anniversary gift. We got to go to New York and have a great time. But Deanie Freireich belongs here next to me because everything I've done has been a joint effort. We're partners in life. We've created a home and a family and a career together, and I must say she deserves as much credit as I do. Deanie Freireich, she's in the front row. Well, everything I was going to say has been said, I think, by other people. I don't want to sound too corny. But I started treating leukemia as a full-time job in 1955. Now, you young people don't realize what leukemia was like in 1955. Median lifespan of a child diagnosed with leukemia was 8 weeks. Less than 1% lived a year after the diagnosis. But that wasn't the worst part. Just having a fatal disease and dying at the median age of five, that's not the worst thing. It's how they died. When I started treating these children, we had a ward full of children between the ages of 0 and about 10, median age 5. And when you came on the ward, all you saw was blood, because these children bled to death from having no platelets. And I had an opportunity to serve at the newly opened Clinical Center of the National Cancer Institute in 1955. I was hired by Gordon Zubrod, the late Gordon Zubrod, a fine gentleman and a scholar. And when I reported for active duty in the Public Health Service, I said, Dr. Zubrod, I'm reporting for active duty. He said, Freireich, what do you do? I said, I'm a hematologist. So he scratched his head and he said, your job is to cure leukemia. And I'm proud to say that with the help of my friend and lifetime colleague, Emil Freireich III, we did, in 10 years, cure childhood leukemia. But the big accomplishment, but my biggest accomplishment was to get rid of the damned hemorrhage. To see children lying in bed and going and spraying blood over the ceiling and the uniforms, their bedclothes. We talked about palliative care, but that was misery. And the first child that I treated with platelet, well, at that time, everybody knew that the cause of hemorrhage was not thrombocytopenia. There were many studies on experimental animals which showed that there was a circulating anticoagulant, but being stupid and inexperienced, I went to the lab and collected blood from the children who were bleeding and took my own blood, put my platelets in their blood, and everything looked okay. So I said, now the next challenge is how to get these platelets from donors to them. And I had a patient that I remember like today. His name was Scotty Dinsmore. I don't know if his father's still living. And Scotty was lying in bed, bleeding from his urine and his stool and his mouth and his eyes. And his father was a minister. And I said, I have this idea. If we can take platelets from normal donors and shoot them into children, I think it'll stop the bleeding, because I did this in the laboratory. But there was a literature already which proved that wouldn't work. People became isosensitized, wouldn't work. We had enormous debates about even pretending to do it. But Reverend Dinsmore spoke to his congregation, and we got 50 donors to come to the hospital. And I stood at Scotty's bedside with a syringe, and we did an exchange transfusion. Blood from normal donors, blood from Scotty Dinsmore. And remarkably, the hemorrhage stopped immediately. But we were replacing the plasma as well as the platelets. So how did we conclude that the blood platelets were it? Well, what happened is after he stopped bleeding, we counted the platelets every day, and we measured the lifespan of the transfused platelets. They had a median lifespan of 10 days. So we could watch them disappear, and when the platelet count got to the critical level, which is approximately 1,000 per microliter, guess what? So when I think about what I've done in my career, I mean, all of our speakers have mentioned how heroic the patients are. But for me, the big reward is to see children who were treated for acute lymphoblastic leukemia, who have come to my department as trainees to learn how to treat other children with cancer. That's a real gratifying sensation. And of course, I have to thank who's ever responsible for life, that I've lived this long and I still go to work every day doing the things that I started out doing and training new people to carry the torch forward. Deanie and I are working together on that. Thank you.